Hello everybody out there, and welcome back here once again with the future to another retro showcase and review. And today's retro showcase and review has to do over a figure line that was launched in 1991 and coincided with a film of the same name, and that is none other than the Mattel 1991 Hook action figure line. And obviously it has coincided with the film of the same name that most people probably remember. It starred the late great Robin Williams as Peter Pan himself, aka Peter Banning in his adult form. Also starred Dustin Hoffman as Hook, and Tinkerbell, was Julia Roberts. So this is a very cool movie. Also, Bob Hoskins played Shmi in this film as well. This is the old VHS, actually the 1992 release, so probably the first release of Hook here. And I also have it here on DVD as well. So one of my favorite films is Hook. From when I was a kid, I was probably around 8 years old whenever the film came out, and whenever this action figure line came out exactly the same year in 1991 as the films itself. And like I said, the American fantasy film directed by Steven Spielberg starred Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, and Julia Roberts as Peter Pan, Captain Hook, and Tinkerbell respectively, and acted as a sequel to J.M. Barrie's 1911 novel Peter and Wendy, but we are going to get into more on the story of Hook. For people who may not know much about the movie or the film itself, it has been since 1991 since its release, but with Robin Williams' death, it might be more proclaimed now than ever, and probably witnessed by more people than ever. With a lot of people probably going back and checking out some of his early works. But nonetheless, Hook is a very underrated movie in my opinion. Actually, the movie itself was, launched to mixed reviews, and a lot of critics, had some opinions about it, but, they said it didn't live up to the standards of J.M. Barrie's novel. But you know what? I really like Hook, and I really love the action figure line as well. I have 4 figures from the line, 3 carded and 1 loose here, so we can take a look at those. But before we get into looking at them, I want to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed lately, dropped any comments, left any kind of feedback, given me any likes. I really appreciate all the support here on my channel, and I hope everybody enjoys this look at the 1991 Mattel Hook action figure line here. Actually, we're just going to look at 3 figures and 1 loose figure, but this line actually came with more figures than this, some vehicles. We'll get into all of that. There was a second wave that was pretty scarce, and it's pretty pricey to get a hold of, the second wave figures, and then there was a third wave planned as well. We'll get into all of that here, and some more on the line, and some more on the movie Hook itself. But yeah, thanks for the support, everybody, and now let's take a look at the 1991 Hook action figure line by Mattel. Let's check them out. You gotta love Peter Pan. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go into a little bit on the movie itself. You can see the 3 carded figures I have. One of them's the pirate figure, then you have Peter Pan and his Lost Boy companion Rufio there, and another Peter Pan here from Wave 1. These are all Wave 1 figures. Like I said, the second wave was pretty scarce and hard to get a hold of the figures, even on the secondhand market. They're pretty pricey. And you can see here the VHS that I have here, but for those that don't know, it had acted as a sequel to J.M. Barrie's 1911 novel, Peter and Wendy, and it focused on an adult Peter Pan who has forgotten all about his childhood. In his new life, he is known as Peter Banning, a successful but unimaginative and workaholic corporate lawyer with a wife and 2 children. However, though, when Captain Hook, his old nemesis, kidnaps his children, he returns to Neverland in order to save them. Along the journey, he reclaims the memories of his past and becomes a better person. Sorry about the reading there. I'm reading off notes, so I mess up on my own damn writing here. But yeah, that's a little bit more about the movie itself. The figures, however, were really imaginative and well made, and they only lacked in certain areas, such as like the likenesses. But all the figures were original, unlike Kenner's Robin Hood Prince of Thieves line, which was released the same year in 1991, which I have done a review on the Longbow Robin Hood era figure. But I'll put that up in the right. and you can check that out. But these were all, you know, brand new figures that were made. And it does not reuse molds from earlier toy lines like the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves line, which makes it pretty cool in my opinion. There was a planned third wave of figures which was advertised and set to be released, like I said, before being canceled, and it looked as though they may had righted some of the certain flaws that they had in the first couple waves that they did. The line is pretty affordable to collect these days, though, but you're going to have some trouble with the second wave, which are pretty sought after and pretty pricey on the second-hand market. And the full set of figures, actually, Series 1, you had Air Attack Peter Pan here, Swashbuckling Peter Pan. You also had, which I do not have featured here, but he's on the case here, you had two versions of Captain Hook, Tall Terror and Captain Hook Multi-Blade. You had Rufio Lost Boy, Ace Lost Boy, and Bill Jukes the Pirate. And there's Rufio there we're going to look at here in a few, and there's Bill Jukes the Pirate right there. So that was Series 1. And there was also, you know, a more scarce Series 2 release that had two versions of Peter Pan, a food fight and a battle swing Peter Pan, I believe. And then there was a Captain Hook Swiss Army Captain Hook. Then you had a Lost Boy Thudbutt, Peter Pan Learn to Fly, Skull Armor Captain Hook, Lost Boys Attack Croc, and Shmee, which was played by Bob Hoskins in the film. Here's the DVD too, a little close up on it as well. And like you said there, it says, get ready for adventure. Steven Spielberg has scored another triumph. Somebody from the Today Show said. But yeah, I might pop this in and check this out tonight because, you know, doing this review really makes me want to check out this movie again. I always love the artwork here on the front of this case. And that's the thing about these figures, is that the box art and the card art are just amazing on these. That's why I wanted to have some carded examples, not only in my collection, but for this video as well, so people can see that. There were vehicles and accessories. There was the Lost Boy Attack Raft and the Lost Boy Strike Tank, and on the back of these cards you will see these vehicles. And then the planned Series 3 wave, which was not released, that I talked about, that seemed like they righted some flaws in the line. You had the second version of Rufio, which seemed like a very good update to the figure. And then you had even the Tinkerbell figure, which was not released, which would have been really cool to get the Tinkerbell figure, which there's Tinkerbell, Julia Roberts, in the film. There was also a pirate ship vehicle set for release, and also a Never Forest playset, which looked absolutely amazing. It was huge. Pixel Dan's Flashback Friday video from back in like 2012 that's posted on here shows the picture of this thing, and man, was it amazing looking. But now, let's take a closer look at these figures. And one thing that a lot of people complain about on these figures is the likenesses. For some reason or another, Mattel was unable to secure the rights for the likenesses here on these guys. So yeah, you have Air Attack Peter Pan here, but man, he looks nothing, and I mean nothing, like Robin Williams in my opinion. But yeah, we're going to get into this and take a closer look at all these guys. I'll give you a little bit of a write-up on these guys that I have in my notes, read one off for you, give you some details about each figure, not just go run over them and that's it. But yeah, let's take a look at each figure. Okay, so here is the first figure we're going to look at, and obviously it is Peter Pan himself, and like I said, the likeness is not of Robin Williams for one reason or another. I'm thinking that they did not have the likeness rights. They had the film rights to make the figures for the film, but they did not get the likeness rights for the actors themselves, and that's why neither the illustrations on the packaging nor the figures themselves have any resemblance at all to the characters' likenesses in the film, such as Robin Williams, who played Peter Pan here. You can see that Doesn't look much like him. But you know what's cool about it, and Pixel Dan also mentioned this in his video, is that, you know, you get a little figure of Peter Pan now. So that's very cool. You have like a Peter Pan figure to go in your collection instead of like a Robin Williams version of Peter Pan. But one thing that I thought would have been cool is to do versions of each, if they could have gotten the likeness, you know, like kind of like the Robin Hood line did for Prince of Thieves, where they did a version each of the actor himself and of him as Robin Hood. They did a Robin Hood and a Kevin Costner Robin Hood. Like I said, I will put the link up in the right to that video if I haven't mentioned it already. You can go back and check out the Robin Hood line retro showcase and review that I did on the longbow. I think that's what it was, the longbow Robin Hood from that line. But this is the green Air Attack Peter Pan. And this is not the sword that he came with. I just think he looks cooler with a sword in his hand. And it's pretty reminiscent. You can see the color of the sword does kind of match the coloring there of the packaged swashbuckling Peter Pan there that we'll take a look at. But he actually came with a backpack contraption that used a pulley string device in order to represent flight. And what's cool about these figures is they had articulation here where the arms could be, you know, actually go up in the air. And let's see here. And pointed in a direction where you could make it look like Peter Pan is actually, you know, in flight here. So that's very cool because they had like these ball joints here at the shoulders instead of your typical, you know, just back and forth swiveling arms like that. You could actually go out with these arms and stuff like that. And this is the only figure, I believe, from the line that had a waist that you could, an articulated waist that you couldn't go 360, but you could go, you know, 180 there. And the head, on this one at least, did rotate 360. Does rotate 360. And it's, you know, very well detailed for a 1991 figure. Even the feet here, you can see the boots are very well made. Almost looking like there's articulation there, but it's not. It's just the boots or shoes or whatever you want to call that. But Peter Pan, a very sweet, you know, looking Peter Pan figure. If you're looking for the figure, you know, the quintessential Peter Pan figure from this line, definitely pick up the Air Attack Peter Pan if you're going to open one up to display. And what's really funny about this figure is that I don't know how good you can see that. I mean, I don't know how good it's going to focus, but look at the painted on headband that really has no place. I don't think in the film he ever wore any kind of headband or handkerchief or anything around his head. And it's just painted on. Look how bad that looks. They just took some green paint and just painted this around his head. It's not even molded or anything. You can see it's painted into the hair. And they actually corrected that on the next one that I'm going to show, and that's the swashbuckling Peter Pan. They actually corrected that and molded that into the head of this one. So they made an update there. Instead of just painted on, they actually molded it in. So yeah, Air Attack Peter Pan. Got this one from a thrift shop one time, a while back, and I knew what it was right away, but was really happy when I was able to pick this one up. Very cool. So that's the Air Attack Peter Pan. We'll put him over here to the side. And to get these guys to stand up, you kind of gotta, I mean, it's not too hard, but there's certain, you know, it does have some problems, you know, tipping over and whatnot. So put the sword over there too. The next one that we're going to look at is the variant here, which really has no basis on the film itself. And I already explained that the head sculpt, you know, you can see the sculpted in bandana piece this time instead of just painted on his head. I don't know why they opted the way they did on the initial Air Attack one from the same wave. But like I said, he's never shown in this attire in the film. But nonetheless, it's a very cool looking figure, more pirate looking Peter Pan. And it says, swashbuckling Peter Pan swings a sword. Look at the great illustration there, artwork here on the card. And you can see this came from Kmart. It was $6.99 back then. You have your not recommended for children under 3 stamp there. I like how they have hooks. Hook just ripping right through like a pirate treasure map type deal there for the card back. And you can see the insignia is very reminiscent of the same logo that they have for Hook on the VHS here and DVD. The only thing is it has the blue behind it here and just one red H. So they kind of, I think they thought that would add more to it. Because if you just put red Hook here and then you had all this red, it'd be just almost too much red, in my opinion. But also could be, I don't know, just I didn't have the rights to the exact same. I don't know, this line's weird because obviously that looks nothing like Robin Williams, so. Over here they had the old weapons that you could have, that you could use. And it came with a long sword and a scabbard, I think is how you pronounce that. So there's this long sword, which, yeah, is very similar, other than the handle is more of a, pirate sword type handle. They're close enough to display it with my Air Attack Peter Pan there. But you see the logo down here for Mattel to the right on the card. And very sweet figure. Let's get a good shot of him. I love the paint applications and the sculpts on these figures for 91. I think they're very well made. And all of these figures have different card backs, because if you go to the back here, you get a actual story, a write-up here, which I'm not going to read off, but if you want to pause it and read that, you can. I definitely would probably stumble over some words on that one, but you have more Hook adventure. And then you have Peter Pan, the swashbuckling Peter Pan, squaring off against Captain Hook there in a sword fight. And then over here to the left you had more Hook action, and it showed you that you remove accessories with safety scissors, and then it says sword fits in hand, scabbard fits on leg, and then here it says twist body clockwise and release to swing the sword. Yes, this figure actually has an action feature, and it had a spring-loaded swivel waist. So the Air Attack did not have that spring-loaded waist, even though it had a swivel waist. It did not have the spring-loaded waist. There's your consumer information, made in China there, 1991 TriStar Pictures. Your proof of purchase there. You got one Hook there to save. But here are the figures from the other line, and we can only go over this once because all the other figures have the exact same card backs as far as the figures that are shown go. And here you see the figures from the line: swashbuckling Peter Pan, Air Attack Peter Pan, which I just showed, and they even got him in that pose. Then you have multi-blade Captain Hook, Tall Terror Captain Hook, which you can actually extend the legs of, which made him really tall. Then you have Lost Boy Rufio, Lost Boy Ace, which had about 3 minutes of screen time, I think maybe they said, and then Pirate Bill Jukes as well. Then down here you have the Lost Boy Attack Raft, the Lost Boy Strike Tank, and the life-size Lost Boy Pirate Blaster, life-size Peter Pan Battle Sword, and the life-size Captain Hook Tri-Hook that were all released in the line at the same time as the 1991 Wave 1 action figure line here. So very cool accessories, weapons, vehicles. Very cool action figure line from 1991. Figures, vehicles, and accessories to fight the greatest battle ever in Neverland. Obviously, that was the battle where the battle took place in Neverland. But man, I love these card backs. Let's go to the next one, and that will be Lost Boy Rufio this time. And Lost Boy Rufio, a little bit about him in the film itself. He took over leadership from Captain Hook after Captain Hook deserted the Lost Boys, the band of Lost Boys, so somebody had to take over. And at first, he's very reluctant to give up his position to the older returning Peter Pan. And at first, he's not even sure if it is Peter Pan, and he's who Tinkerbell claims he is. Because Tinkerbell claims, you know, she knows that this is Peter Pan. And here you have Lost Boy Rufio. He sails and skates into battle. And man, you gotta love the artwork here, the illustration here of Lost Boy Rufio, who actually is in keeping with the other Lost Boys in the set, but he actually has slightly more of an accurate representation of his on-screen counterpart, if you've ever saw the movie. He has great detailing, and he really stands out in the set, and he's one of the most memorable characters from the film itself. And he comes with this skateboard and cell/glider, as you can see in the back there, doubles as each. And the accessory really felt, you know, authentic to the style of the movie. And I remember in the movie he had that he was flying around on, like you can see in the illustration, and it really feels authentic. And it was also compatible with other figures too. That was. But there you see Hook's hook, Captain Hook's hook, scraping across the I want to call that a treasure map or just an old map. And Lost Boy Rufio. Let's take a closer look at this guy, because he was one of the best. Yeah, you know, other than the added chest armor, the war paint, and really, you know, not really a great resemblance to the actor, he did have more of an accurate representation of his on-screen counterpart nonetheless. And I love the red and black detailing. This was always my favorite figure. My friend had these as a kid. I did not have these figures, and I'm glad I have them now, but I remember going over there and playing all the time with these, and I always loved Rufio. And we loved him in the film. I love the hair. Gotta love it. And on the back here, as I said, you have a little write-up or story here that involves Rufio, who led the Lost Boy attack on Hook, and it was the greatest war ever in Neverland, it says there. And you can see Rufio hang gliding above the pirates there. Very, very cool illustration. I love the original artwork on these. And there, once again, are all the figures from the line, the vehicles and accessories that you could get. But over here, you have something different. It says more Hook action. It says press cell and figure on board. Fit one hand, on cell, handle, and roll into battle. And then it says fit cell peg into notch on figure's back. There you have the consumer information, made in China. So it's like, you know, these instructions are really necessary. I'm not sure. I guess that they are to show you where they go. But there's the write-up there that you can pause and read for yourself, because like I said, I'm not going to sit here and stumble over all this. Kind of hard for me to read things, you know, that I write down alone, yet alone, ones that are already wrote, and that's small on the back of the card. So the camera's picking it up pretty good, though, so you should be able to pause and read it there on Rufio. But man, just having this in hand is just so cool. You can see there for ages 4 and over. Once again, Kmart sticker for $6.99. Not recommended for children under 3. Your Mattel stamp. There's a good look at that cell too that he has back there behind him. Pretty cool. It's got the you know, Lost Boys, you know, emblems on there. You can see the green washed, like, I like the paint jobs and everything on these figures for like the wood and green wash there. just everything about these figures is just really cool. So there's a little comparison of Rufio next to swashbuckling Peter Pan there. Pretty cool. And we got to get Air Attack Peter Pan over here as well. And then the last figure from the line that I'm going to show is just a generic. You know, they needed some pirates for the Lost Boys to battle in between battling Captain Hook for Peter Pan and the Lost Boys to take on. And Bill Jukes, who was actually named after one of the original J.M. Barrie pirates from the story, from the book, he existed pretty much just to beef out the toy line and as another foil for them to face off with. But this guy is great because they gave him everything that you would think of when you think of a pirate. He's got his tattoo of a skull and crossbones there, or skull and swords, actually. He's got a freaking pirate molded to his shoulder, which is classic. Like, wherever this guy goes, he's got a pirate on his shoulder. Look at the illustration. He's even got the pirate on there doing battle. That is one badass pirate. I wonder what language he picked up. Anyway, he's got a peg leg as well. I mean, try fighting with a peg leg. Sword fight, nonetheless. And then he's even got an eye patch. So you got everything: a pirate, a parrot, eye patch, and a freaking peg leg, and he's a pirate. I mean, what is this guy? If you look at him, obviously he's a pirate. So yeah, they made this guy so you have another pirate to battle against other than just Captain Hook. And I think it's very cool that they made Bill Jukes, because Bill Jukes is from the J.M. Barrie story as well. So it's almost like, you know, you get a character from the book. So it's almost like these figures, you know, went along with the book as well as the movie. But there's the Hook logo once again, with Captain Hook scraping right down the map there. And you can see that he came, you know, with a couple accessories here, and it shows on the back how he uses them. It says for more Hook action, and look at that, the parrot, parrot, whatever, never comes off the shoulder of Bill Jukes. And what's funny is he's a green parrot in the illustration and the figure, but on the back he's yellow. So I just noticed that. But anyway, it says use safety scissors to remove his weapons and fit them in his hands as shown. Move parrot back and forth for whip snapping action. So he has a little dagger here, or a knife, and a whip there, and the parrot actually acts as, you know, an action feature for Bill Jukes. So yeah, in battle, this guy doesn't even, man, what's he chasing off, a little kid there? Boy, that guy looks awful young. As one of the Lost Boys, so it's one of the kids he's chasing off. But man, they got this guy looking real young, but whatever. Bill Jukes, one badass pirate, obviously. And they even have a story here on Bill Jukes. Peter Pan looked on as the peg-legged pirate Bill Jukes cracked his whip at his captives. A line of tagged Lost Boys. So that's what he's doing right there. It's one of his captives. It's one of the young Lost Boys. There's a lot to be done to get ready for the greatest war ever in Neverland, which obviously Rufio commanded, as we learned from the other card back. So a whole story going on here. But it's cool that they included Bill Jukes from the book as another figure, as a foil for your other figures to go up against. But yeah, that is the last figure from the Hook line by Mattel from 1991 that I have to look at. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. I did a lot of research and information to do this video. I hope everybody enjoyed my work that went into it, and it was well worth it. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure you give it a like here for Peter Pan, especially. Just for Peter Pan, give it a like. And make sure you drop a comment down below on what you think of the Hook action figure line. If you had any of these figures as a kid, just if you enjoy action figures at all, just make sure you hit me up down below. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And yeah, guys, until next time, we're off to Never Never Land. And as always, along with Peter Pan, we're going to say thanks for watching. And rest in peace, Robin Williams, as well. Peace out.